Hey, welcome to The Explainer. In a world that seems totally obsessed with being seen, some people choose to stay, well, almost completely invisible online. Today, we're diving into the really fascinating psychology behind that silent profile.
Think about it. Have you ever been scrolling and you notice that one friend who just never post pictures of themselves? Like ever. No selfies, no vacation pics, no new profile photo for years. It kind of makes you wonder, right? Are they just super shy or is there something way deeper going on here? Let's get into it. So, here's our game plan. We're going to start by unpacking why what we think we know about these folks is often just wrong. Then we'll dig into why they choose privacy over popularity, how they build confidence without needing a single like, and finally, what they understand about the digital world that, honestly, many of us miss.
All right, first up, let's tackle this whole enigma. We all make these snap judgments about people who stay quiet online, but it turns out the psychological truth is usually the complete opposite of what we assume. Yeah, so the common myth, right? We think, oh, they must be shy, or maybe even a little antisocial, or that their lives are just boring. But the psychological reality we're about to explore, it suggests they're way more likely to be grounded, incredibly self-aware, and get this, quietly confident. So what's the first big piece of this puzzle? Well, it's a conscious choice. It's about prioritizing something that a lot of us forget even exists online, our own mental space. Psychologists actually have a term for this. They call it a high privacy orientation. And what's so interesting is that this isn't about hiding from the world at all. No, it's about control. It's about being the gatekeeper of your own information and protecting your inner world from all the constant noise and judgment that's just everywhere online. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? While so many of us are kind of chasing validation through likes and comments, these individuals find it within themselves. They get their fulfillment from the experience itself, not from shouting about it online. And that right there is a huge sign of inner security. This whole idea of self-validation, it leads us straight to our next point. We're talking about a type of confidence that, well, it just doesn't need any external fuel to keep burning. See, here's the thing. People who don't feel the need to share all the time often have what researchers call high self-concept clarity. In plain English, that means they have a really solid sense of who they are, what they value, and where they're headed. They don't need to look at online trends or what other people think to figure themselves out, because they've already got their own internal compass. You can really picture it like two different roads to feeling good about yourself. Path number one is all external. It runs on a constant drip feed of likes, comments, and shares. And it's fickle. But the other path, that's internal. It's fueled by your own standards, your own sense of inner peace. People with a silent profile, they've chosen that second path. And the payoffs for taking that internal path are pretty huge. Psychologists have found that people with this kind of secure self-esteem, well, they tend to be less anxious. They're not constantly seeking approval. They're way more focused on their actual real-world goals. And maybe most importantly, they feel complete without needing anyone else to click a button to prove their worth. So if they're not out there looking for likes, what are they focused on? This brings us to the final and maybe most insightful piece of the puzzle. They see social media for what it so often is, a performance. This all stems from a trait called an internal locus of evaluation. I know, it's a fancy term, but the idea is actually super simple. You are your own judge. People who have this trait are often really deep thinkers. They value authentic face-to-face conversations way more than the superficial back and forth that can take over online. And they're also super aware of something called social comparison theory. This is that psychological trap we all fall into, where we measure our own messy, real life against the perfect, polished highlight reels of everyone else. By not playing that game so much, they are actively and probably consciously protecting their own mental health from that whole toxic cycle. When you boil it all down, it comes to this one simple but really powerful choice. They choose inner peace over public performance. They are literally opting out of that endless pressure to present a perfect life, and instead, they're choosing to just live one. So, the big reframe here is this. The next time you see that silent profile, don't think antisocial. Think self-secure. It's a quiet confidence that comes from the inside, that values privacy, and that understands the digital world on a much deeper level. And that's really the final thought to leave you with. True validation, real value, it comes from your own sense of self. They don't need to be publicly visible to feel like they matter. And maybe that's the most authentic kind of confidence there is.